Good morning, welcome to the show. Very excited to have Rick Gordon, who is the CEO of Tidal Cyber, and also Marcos Osorio, who is the Director of Cybersecurity Investments at Bright Pixel Capital. We're here in DC, Washington. We're at the Data Tribe Innovation Day, and I think there's about 300 founders and VCs out there, yeah?
Yeah, it's packed.
There's good energy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the first time that we've had a founder and a VC together. So it's the first for us, so we're really excited. So thanks for joining. Marcos, if I could start with you. We're in a crowded cybersecurity market space. What really stood out for you guys about Tidal Cyber?
Yeah, thanks for having me here. I do believe that in order for me to explain what kind of caught my attention, I think we need to go way back, even to economic theory, which is, or in large points, states that you have capital, you have people, and you have technology. Capital, we have it, of course, and so you have two inputs, which is people and technology, and the bet is always on the thing that changes the less. So in this sense, it was people, all right? Because technology, those guys are experts. I do believe that it was like the team. The team has deep knowledge among the MITRE Foundation and the MITRE attack, and they speak it as first language instead of translating it like the other companies do. And so it was that very deep insight and earned secret that kind of led us to Rick.
And in terms of timing, because of obviously Rick's got a strong co-founding team with him, but and obviously we'll talk about the technology and the products with Rick in a moment. But was there anything to do with timing? Was it a good timing to enter?
Yeah, as well. So we do believe, at least it's in our thesis for this year and for the next one, we're kind of entering in a phase of CISO fiscal accountability. Okay, and so people are used for budgets to going up to the right forever, and we do believe that we're entering into a phase that, you have platformization and stuff like that, but you also have board level type of scrutiny about around the budgets. And so in that sense, for us, the timing for a tool that kind of helps you just find the truth on, can you defend X against Y? And do we need further tooling, or we're okay with this tooling that we have and we just need to fine tune it? It's for me, it's the perfect timing.
Rick, what did you see in the market that made you want to create Tidal Cyber?
Yeah, wasn't any sort of single observation. I think in the last couple of years, I'd maybe been obsessed with the application of threat intelligence since about 2010.
Yeah,
been in the industry since 1999, so I've had this privilege of sort of watching these waves of change impact the industry. I've been in security, whether it's cyber or homeland security, that entire time.
Yeah.
The one question that was sort of vexing the industry and has sort of plagued us since the beginning is something Marcos just said. It's the inability to answer that basic security question: can I defend X against Y? Or even more specifically, can I, as a security leader, understand who's attacking me, with which tradecraft, and whether or not the investments that we've made actually line up against that tradecraft? And then when it doesn't, can I, as a steward of the precious resources we've been given, with any degree of conviction, say the next things I need to do will reduce residual risk in my environment by the greatest amount possible? That is a basic security question. It is the job that every security professional has to do, and we've never been able to answer the question with any degree of analytical rigor in the industry since I've been in it. What I saw at MITRE was the ability to close that gap really well. Big reason I went there. I think MITRE, with MITRE attack, disrupted that entire process, and there's a little, obviously some learning that we had when we were there. But the big eureka moment was for me that, okay, we have the ability to very efficiently understand who's attacking us with what, and with what Frank Duff did, one of my co-founders, with getting the vendor community to then say, These are the things that our products do in the exact same structure. We had the ability to finally solve the problem.
So was there, would you say there was a broken, or that there were broken methodologies out there, traditional approaches that were being used?
For sure, everything was a proxy. To do security right, you have to have an understanding at a low level of abstraction of what residual risk is. We've, ever since I've been in the industry, used proxies, things like compliance standards or control frameworks, checklists of things that are, arguably great things to do. But in a zero-sum environment, I don't know a CISO that has enough money or enough people to do all the things that they need to do. And so they needed an ability to be able to judge the investments that they were making based on their ability to reduce residual risk. But without that picture, everybody was flying blind. That's a problem we solved.
And how did your background shape?
For sure, the experience in threat intelligence from like 2008 to about 2012, and even during that period of time, it was vexing. It was really difficult to be able to democratize the availability of the understanding of who's attacking you with what tradecraft certain adversaries were using against certain targets. That, in fact, I think purposefully so, from like the 2010s, that data was kept scarce to keep the price high, to allow the vendors who were selling that data to have good exits. I think MITRE did a ton to democratize that when they created attack. So basically, they created this hierarchically structured knowledge base of tactics, techniques, and procedures so that anybody could have access to which adversaries were attacking which kinds of targets with which behaviors.
Yeah.
Now, it's still, without the innovation that I think wrapped around it, still required a significantly experienced individual to actually make sense of it. But it made, I would say, solve 30% of the problem.
Yeah, and a lot of people obviously know what your company does and what the product is, but for those who don't, snapshot of what it actually does do.
Yeah, so we basically make it easy to answer that question. Can I defend Y with X? We do that by ingesting large amounts of open source threat intelligence. We'll decompose it into these are the threat objects that are mentioned, these are the targets that they're attacking, these are the techniques or procedures that they're using in a structured way. Then that gives us the ability to very efficiently understand, based on a kind of company that might be in the financial services sector in the Midwest, these are the adversaries who are attacking you, these are the techniques that they use. The second half, so that answers the first half of the question, which is who's attacking me with what. The next step is, what do my products actually do? That's also been a really difficult problem to understand, I think, given the sort of the complexity of the tools that we have in our environments, the opacity of sort of what they're actually doing. For a long time, vendors would treat that as tradecraft that they protected to the detriment of their customer, because the customer had no ability to know, okay, what is my EDR actually doing today? Couple that with sort of the complexity of their user interfaces, without an understanding of why to push a toggle position to the right, relating that to, you've got an exposure here for this behavior, it's very difficult. So we've decomposed all of that in a way that allows a customer to very efficiently understand, based on this complex stack of an EDR, SIEM, a next-gen firewall, maybe custom rules that we built in our environments. All of those things reduce residual risk on a technique-by-technique basis by X. That helps the customer understand at any point in time where my residual risk is too high and what can I do about it based on the tools that I have in my environment. We solve that problem.
So a CISO of an investment bank with hundreds and hundreds of people in the cyber team, I don't know how many hundreds of vendors, and like you say, layer after layer after layer. So this product would then showcase a CISO to, I guess, understand, are we doubling up on some of these, the vendors that we're using? So
Sure. There are lots of use cases for this. The use case that you're sort of alluding to is what we call defensive stack optimization. So it all starts with understanding it's all threat-led. What do I need to defend against? Can I defend against? Do I have gaps? If I have gaps, how do I fill those gaps? So, Cybersecurity 101, can I defend Y against X? We solve that problem, help a customer understand how to fix that problem. Now, I think sort of this tying this back to Marcos's thesis, we know that there's been a lot of money that's gone into security over the last decade. I think CEOs and CFOs are rightfully asking questions about risk, like what's the ROI on all of this? How much risk have we reduced? Is it worth the extra money? Can you do more with less? A lot of CISOs are really struggling to figure out how to do more with less because it requires them to ask the question, do I need this capability? It might be $1 million a year license for a specific capability that within context of not only what I need to defend, but also what I'm defending with everything else, it might have very incremental benefit. Because of the way that we do defensive stacking, it is super trivial for us to tell you without this specific capability that costs you $1 million a year, you have very incremental decrement and residual risk, and you can fill those gaps in a more economical way.
And with that, how are your customers getting most value out of the platform at the moment? Is it that angle?
It's a process. Different use cases, different user personas. There's a lot you can do with threat intelligence when it's easily accessed and decomposed and structured for you. Probably the prevailing use case is what we call SOC assessments, and it really is honestly just getting that view. No one's been able to answer the question, can I defend Y against X? Yeah. So there's a hunger for that. So we start there. Generally, it's super easy for me to come in and say, here's your threat profile, tell me what you have. We'll integrate into the more complex tools to understand what's on and what's not on. We'll show you what the misalignment is, where residual risk is too high. And finally, you have a view of where you're exposed to techniques that are being used against you. Right? Customers have never seen it before. Oftentimes, it's really interesting. So oftentimes they have the capability available. They just didn't know they had, one, they didn't know that it was a significant risk. Two, they didn't know they didn't have it turned on. We see it every time.
Wow, okay. So Marcos, I mean, you mentioned earlier that the vision of Rick and his team really impressed you guys. Good timing to the market as well. From the sort of technology side, without going too deep, what impressed you around the technology itself, the platform, and it not sort of being just another dashboard?
That's a good question. So I do believe that they clearly have the MITRE lineage gives them right to play on that domain. What we saw from the clients with whom we spoke with was a radical way in the change in the way they conduct the security business, and so discussions started to be much more professional and at the board level. Even the teams, the platform breaks down silos and makes different teams working together. We spoke with a client that said, "Hey, I cannot work without this platform. My whole security kind of strategy is done around this platform." And so it's sticky, it works, and is done in a very pragmatic way, because the market is sick of, it's a very noisy market full of dashboards. Rick and the team they asked the right questions. They went why, and then it boils down to, can we defend X against Y? And so it addresses a real pain, and it's not the pain that you usually see people speaking about. People speak and sometimes they tell different stuff, but it's what they do about the pain that is much more informative. And what we've seen doing with the platform is just a complete 180 degrees change on how all the security stuff is dealt with. So that's what got us excited.
Yeah. And you've got a big portfolio of other cybersecurity and tech companies with Bright Pixel, and I guess looking at Rick and his team's sort of approach to going to the market, growing to the company, because I think you led Series A with the guys. How do they compare to some of the other companies, some of the other portfolio companies that you have?
Yeah. So until now, at least in our view, there has been a doctrine in the market, which is if we patch every vulnerability we have, we're going to be safe. That has a huge problem, which is you cannot patch everything. You're going to get myopia from CVEs. There's going to be a better way about doing that. And so we have companies that do vulnerability management, etc., very successful ones. I do believe that Tidal comes up one step before, which is let me couple threat profiling first so that we understand that we're solving not only the right problem, but the problem that matters the most. And so in that sense is, I would say, a breath of fresh air, because everyone, I mean, it's CVEs, X, CVEs, Y, etc. And what Tidal does is maybe we're not solving the right problem. And that, together with the threat profiling, etc., makes it, I would say, an orthogonal approach to a market that kind of like it's completely impossible to deal with all the CVs that you have.
Yeah. Rick, looking ahead, what's next for Tidal Cyber?
So, I mean, a lot of things that we're doing now that continue to allow us to add, I'll just say, greater levels of specificity in the way that we're describing behaviors. And the whole point of doing that is to, as long as it's efficient, when you start comparing defensive capabilities against the way adversary behaviors are described, you can, with a higher degree of accuracy, make an assessment whether or not you can defend effectively against it. So we recently released a capability, a machine learning capability called NARC, and better than anything we've ever seen in the market. And we've actually, we used it internally for ourselves because we needed the ability to very efficiently ingest a bunch of threat intelligence and decompose it into, accurately decompose it into which behaviors are being described. And we were doing that at the technique level, which is a higher level of abstraction and super useful for a lot of use cases. There was, for two use cases in particular, detection engineering and threat hunting, we needed a greater level of specificity. And I think the rest of the market, we all sort of recognize that we talk about TTPs, and I think MITRE's done an incredible job structuring TTs, right? But no one had really blown out procedural objects. And so we developed a process that allowed us to do that gave us structure in a scalable way, the ability to understand which procedures were being used by specific adversaries against specific targets. That comes into play when you're really trying to figure out, okay, I've got a misalignment in risk, high risk, low defensibility in a technique, in a given technique. So naturally you're going to ask the question, what do I do about it? Well, there may be some tools in your bag of tricks that have capabilities that are configured off that align against that technique. But you should turn them on if it's low risk. But if you're really trying to ask the question, for example, what hunts do I want to run in that technique? Because we should have been asking these questions, we haven't been. Or which detections we need to build. Let's consistently ask those questions to make sure that we're defended effectively against whatever that new variant is. We developed the ability to do that, to basically pull out at a low level of abstraction these descriptions of these procedural objects that allow a customer to then very efficiently write a detection that they know aligns against what we've seen most recently from these sets of adversaries in this technique. And so when you're a lot of, especially our larger customers have detection engineering teams, they want to know what they need to be writing, and we can tell them today. So that's the biggest thing that we've done. There's a whole lot of adjacent capabilities that our machine learning capability understands attack better than anybody else's. We're really good at it. And that has a lot of adjacent innovation that we're working on already. You'll see that come out in the next couple of years.
So constant innovation, improvement of the product offering, and changing with the AI times that are upon us. And you're at Series A at the moment. In terms of plans for future funding, acquisitions, anything like that down the road?
All the above. I mean, I think, look, we tripled last 12 in ARR. Super proud of that. Want to do it again. Realize how rare that would be, I think. And so we have I think reasonable expectations, but super high ambitions, right? And we run the company to sort of shoot for the stars and, you know, hopefully get there, but if you don't, you hit the moon, right? So we will continue to operate the company and continue to try to grow, demonstrate geometric growth over the next year. Like that's sort of the essence of a great SaaS business. Our SaaS metrics are killer. My LTV to CAC is amazing. Our capital efficiency is also best of breed. All of those pieces, I think, are working really well. So good things are going to happen, but right now, everybody's focused on scaling. Let's execute, execute, execute. I would say, you know, I mean, getting to a Series A is a big milestone, right? You have to actually have achieved, you demonstrate that you have a business that can thrive. Now we've got to demonstrate that the business is thriving. I think I do have a really strong go-to-market team in place. Made some really smart hires there. It is giving me some cycles to actually really think hard about where we go next with the product that gives us the biggest competitive advantage in the space and brings the customers the most value. So we're spending more time doing that, which, you know, will also put us in a better position, you know, as we start to approach in 18 to 24 months, you know, what options we have. I expect them to be attractive. But I also expect us to, you know, be able to say no if, you know, we don't like what we see.
Yeah, and we're here today at this event with Data Drive, and there's, like we said earlier, 300-400 founders and VCs, and the next sort of innovation of tech coming through, different companies. I think there's 5 or 6 companies here today who are going through sort of a pitch exercise, and they're all very AI led, aren't they? How do you see? So, I mean, how do you see your product, your company, you know, moving with the AI technology? The next, I know you just mentioned about NARC that's just been released. In the next 18 months, do you see like a real change on how your company will be run and the product out in the marketplace?
No. I think the way that we'll run the company and even the way that we'll develop products, we're leveraging AI tools to develop more quickly, but there's no replacing really good talent. I do think, you know, so efficiency on the feature development side, faster time to value for customers, for new capabilities, all of that, I think we're leveraging. And, you know, we've got we have AI capacity internally. This is really good. Where I think it will impact us the most is really in sort of the new features that we're developing that we otherwise would not have been able. If we didn't have machine learning capacity, we never would have been able to build structured procedural objects. It's just too many things. And so I think we've done that already, and it works really well. It's a huge competitive advantage for us. And now it's sort of extending that into a couple of other use cases that also, well, one, increase our TAM, so allow us to move down market. Anytime I can eliminate the need to hire people to use our product, I open up a down market customer. I mean, it's not just the sophisticated. We do really well up market, but it's not just the Fortune 2000 that recognize they need to be able to ask and answer that important question, right? It's just the down market customers don't have the ability to even get started. But as we crack the nut on threat intelligence, the other pieces, we'll use machine learning to crack that nut too.
Yeah. Marcos, bringing you back in here and sort of stepping back, where do you see Tidal Cyber fitting into the broader cybersecurity ecosystem from your perspective?
Great question. I do believe that, I mean, Tidal has a bottom-up inventory of all the product features that exist in the market for the reference vendors. I do believe that Tidal is a Switzerland in the middle of all this market. And so by being completely not taking parts, but trying to grow the market, I do believe that at least I would like to see in the future CISOs asking, what is our Tidal score? I do believe that it's a good vision for the company, and I believe that they can pull it.
And do you believe that the guys are creating a new category in threat-led defense or redefining what's out there?
I think it's threat-informed defense. So unsure if it's a new category, if it's just like the evolution of what we've been seeing until now, which is just like CV-centric approach. I do believe that they're building something very valuable, otherwise they would not be going vertical. So, yeah.
And what does success look like for Tidal Cyber, from your perspective, from a VC perspective?
I mean, obviously it's the returns, but I like to think that if people recognize that Tidal is a Switzerland in the middle of all this noise, and they are delivering value, I believe that for me that's already a big enough success.
So Rick, back to you. So we're here with all these founders and VCs, but particularly founders, and I've spoken to a few yesterday and today. You've got individual founders with a CTO co-founder. They're looking for investment. They're looking for seed, pre-seed, and they're looking to replicate, the success that you guys have had and still having. What would be the one piece of advice that you would give to a founder in this building, hoping to replicate what you've done?
Yeah, it's funny. I've coached a lot of founders and co-founders over the last 15 years, right? And the answer is always the same. Go out and talk to 50 prospective customers, get an empirically relevant sample of validation that they have the problem you're trying to solve. They like your approach. They don't see anybody else doing it that way. They would pay X if you build it, and then would they become a customer if you do build it? I mean, if you can get the last question is the most difficult, right? Because that requires commitment on the part of the customer. But along the way, it's not a sales conversation, it's a product management conversation. Am I going to be wasting my time building this thing I have a vision for? And along the way, you ought to be able to at least get a handful, 5, that are willing to say, yeah, I'll be a design partner and I'll pony up some money to demonstrate that I'm earnest about it. Those are, when you've got that, and let's say you convert the majority of them, you've got a business there. And I think that, and a fundable one, that's probably the biggest key. It's pretty formulaic, right? There's not rocket science. Now, a lot of times you get to the end of that journey and you don't have the empirical evidence. So, save your time and money, or pivot. I think I've about 50 security investments, and I've only not pivoted once out of all of them. And so it's pretty typical to start the journey and then realize that you're wrong. I mean, we haven't pivoted. I don't think we've pivoted. Rich would tell you, my co-founder Rich Struess would tell you, we've never pivoted because we've always sort of had the vision. We are executing really well. But there are little things like we just realized we were wrong about, and because we listen to customers.
And you're in a really great place because you've got 2 great co-founders. So there's a team of 3 here. You look at some of the other founders that are out there that might have a CTO co-founder that doesn't have a lot of experience, maybe. Great product, great idea, great energy that Marcos was saying, and they're talking to as many people as possible. But that go-to-market, getting the customer piece. Do you see that there's a challenge there for some of these guys to get through to a customer because maybe they haven't had that experience of really trying to build out before?
So any first-time founder is going to struggle with that. Unless they're really coming from an environment that where they work for a bigger company and they have that level of relationships. But even that, it's a different set of problems for them to go do a startup because that's just different. I think one starts with having a good technical founder, and then a co-founder that has complementary sets of skills. One of them needs to be an extrovert. One of them needs to be able to actually tell a story in a way that a customer expects to hear it or an investor expects to hear it. The lack of credibility is something that can be borrowed. It's like I just ran into today at the conference, ran into Rob Johnson, who I actually helped fund his first startup. I think it was his first investor, and he had that super technical capacity. Marine Corps trained. He had a great technical co-founder as well, and then but he had charisma, right? Same for Kyle Hansloven. So Rob was at Lumen, Kyle is Huntress. They just they have technical competence, but one of the founders had that, whatever that X factor is. They're charismatic. They can tell a story. And you just knew they were going to, brute force it if worst came to worst. And Kyle did. I mean, he struggled early on getting his thesis funded, and now Hunter's is massive.
And you've got to want it as well. You've got to want it. You've got to really want it.
It's a necessary ingredient. Here's the other thing. I coach a lot of founders. I mean, especially early, like the stage that these guys are in, it's the hardest part, right? Takes a ton of, courage or maybe humility to be willing to go do this, because generally if your eyes are wide open, you realize you're probably going to fail, right? But you're going to do it anyway, because whatever it is you want to build needs to be built.
Yeah.
That's what drives most of these guys. They see the inevitability of the thing existing, and they have enough humility to take the risk, and enough courage to believe that if it's going to be somebody, why not me?
Yeah. And with your experience that you've got, Rick, what would be the biggest lesson that you would take away from your experience that you could pass on to some of these founders?
It actually comes to, there are a couple, right? The one is realize that you could do everything right and still fail. Luck is a necessary, essential ingredient in every case. Every startup that I've ever been involved in that has been successful stayed in business long enough to get lucky. And all of a sudden that snowball started rolling for them. Right, so that's realize that has happened, and do whatever you can to stay in business long enough to have that break is probably a big one. The other one, it's like as I've gotten older, it's become a little more clear to me. It's stressful, so you got to take care of yourself. You've got to continue to exercise. Managing cortisol levels or stress levels is really an important thing for a founder to do, especially when you're like, every stage we're threading needles, right? It's like, okay, I've got this much cash. I've got to hit these milestones, but I'm not quite there yet. All of a sudden, as you get close to being out of cash, I love you guys, but they all start circling around you.
Yeah.
Right. Right. I was an investor too. It's like you can't help it, right? And so that level of stress is really significant on a founder, and you've got to find ways to sort of process the stress and get rid of it.
And having the courage to pivot.
For sure, it's really normal. My old partner Bob Stratton used to say optimal number of pivots is like 1.5. So it's like you've got to, if you're not intellectually honestly listening to a customer tell you that's not what I want, then you're not going to make it.
Yeah, you're going to set up for failure. Marcos, so from a VC perspective, same question, top advice that you would give these founders coming to the market looking for investment. You've got many years experience in the VC space, how many pitches you've had. What would be the biggest piece of advice that you would pass down to these guys?
I would say be deliberate, really understand what you are building and if it's important for the customer.
Yeah.
Ask why as many times as you can.
Yeah.
Be prepared to scrape everything. Don't stay with the first insight that you get, because after that, I kind of like, there's certain things that are related with, for example, meditation, which is for you to meditate, the first part of the meditation, you're swimming on sewer waters. You need to swim into the sewer first if you want to get to clean waters. I do believe that this process of discovery of what is really important for the customer, what is the pain that you're solving, and doing that in a very structured way without having any personality attached to it, and be ready to scrape it if you feel that it's not a big problem to solve. I do believe that that kind of like jumps out of the slides whenever you speak with the founder, which is not only hard-earned insights about the market, but also like you did a discovery process that is like watertight. Yeah. And you're really building something that the customer wants and is ready to pay for and cannot live without.
And lastly, what separates, would you say, the good from the really great founders out there?
I can go to Tidal and to Rick, which is, I would say, in case of Tidal, it was evident that we have founder product problem market fit. And so it's hard-earned insights from, in this case of Rick, of all things matter. It's speaking the same language, and at the end of the day, is bridging theory and practice, because the MITRE framework is a wonderful framework used by many cybersecurity companies. But at the end of the day, if you don't know what to do with it, it's theory, right? And so the best founders bridge theory and practice, I would say.
Brilliant, fantastic, guys. We're out of time.
Yeah.
Rick, Marcos, thank you so much for taking the time out of the event today. Thanks for flying over from Portugal
Thanks for having us.
It's been a great insight, a first to have you both here as well. Wishing you the best of luck, Rick.
Thank you.
Going forward, and enjoy the day here in DC.
Thank you so much.